So, have you guys heard about the Great Resignation? I mean, businesses and benefits leaders, they've had a rude awakening, haven't they? I mean, with the pandemic that happened, it's changed the minds and hearts of employees all over the country, and it's been bad. I mean, according to the State of Work 2021, over 50% of employees are considering changing jobs, right? The Great Resignation. But it's a lot more than just a trend. Employees aren't just quitting because of everything that happened during the pandemic. But what does that mean? Well, it means that while, the pandemic definitely piled more stress on, millions of employees were already experiencing pent up frustrations and negative feelings and what to do. You know, we combined trauma with the everything that happened during the pandemic, all those pent up, like when everything gets just built up. I mean, what do you do? Well, you get an employee retention crisis. And even though it's not about to let up, there's still some hope for businesses wanting to hold on to their employees. And it's a good thing too, because losing over half your employees is that's really gonna hurt, right? So who's to blame for the great resignation? Well, you'll see it said out there that employees are the ones responsible for the great resignation. And some people believe that the current employee retention crisis keeps going because of workers' willingness to leave their jobs for just $1 an hour more somewhere else. Now, you're also going to see it out there that it's those employees' managers that are to blame. Some say that the Great Resignation has happened as a result of their poor leadership and how out of touch they are with their employees. And of course, everything that happened during the pandemic, I mean, it's been a nightmare that's permanently changed the landscape. But you can't exclusively point to it as the only reason employees are leaving by the millions. So, who's to blame? How about all of them? I mean, it makes sense that employees would try their luck after the past couple years, right? I mean, many of them have been stuck collecting a paycheck because that's what their families needed to get through, right? Now there are millions of open jobs waiting to be filled. In many ways, they're looking at a seller's market where their skills are more in demand than they've ever been before. Unfortunately for leaders and managers, you know, everything that happened during the pandemic, it really only magnified issues that already existed just beneath the surface. And it doesn't help that with all the shutdowns, all the stress that happened, everything just hitting the fan, being a leader, it got a lot harder, right, than it normally was. And employees were just quitting by the millions, right? And it didn't help at all. So, does that mean the Great Resignation is going to be here forever? Is it going to stay? Like, what's going to happen? Well, yes and no. What we can take from the current employee retention crisis is that while the reasons for employees quitting are sure to stick around, mass employee turnover, I mean, it's not going to last forever. It never does. In fact, it may altogether lead to lower turnover and happier employees in the long run. But you might be asking how's that? Well, because the unhappy employees who are leaving their current jobs will find work that's better for them, be happier, and stay for longer than they would if they were in a job that they hated. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't adjust your employee retention strategies. I mean, after all, millions of employees wouldn't be quitting if they had everything they needed to stay at your company, yeah? It really all comes down to how hard you're willing to fight for your employees. Okay, well, how do you fight for your employees? Well, ultimately, if you don't think your employees are worth fighting for, I mean, your business is already doomed to fail, right? You can't just throw up your hands or call it good while your best employees just ditch, right? And your company culture goes with them. Right? You can't just let them walk away. You got to do something. You got to get in there, get in the trenches, right? Get your hands dirty, get a little dirt on your fingernails, and figure out what it is that your employees really need or want. Right? Listen to them. I mean, maybe take them out for coffee or lunch or whatever it is. Host a town hall style meeting and have a truly open dialogue with people in your workforce. The key here is to be receptive and not assume you know what they want or need. But also, let's take a moment to give a huge shout out to HR professionals, right? Because behind every successful company, there's an HR hero just working their butt off, working to keep those employees around for the long haul. Without them, recruitment and retention, all right, would be just infinitely harder. So, let's go over some retention strategies that you can focus on. So, one of the first ones we want to talk about is go the extra mile with compensation. Paying people less than they deserve is dumb, right? And it's a pipe dream to expect the same output from a team of 8 that was a team of 12 last year. In fact, that's a great way to push more people out. Instead, try to surprise and delight them with handshake bonuses and other incentives to compensate for the extra work on their plate. Simply put, when you pay employees what they deserve, you tell them they're valued and essential to your business. When you don't, they're going to start looking for greener grass somewhere else. So, number 2, show some appreciation. Employees aren't just job doers. Right? They're people who need to feel like their work is appreciated. They need to know you care, and most of the time, they just want you or need you to say it. In private, in front of their peers, wherever. Plus, it's important to remember that in today's understaffed work environment, employees going above and beyond may look a lot like what was the normal day to day just a couple of years ago. The bottom line is this: when people feel valued, they're more likely to want to stay at your company. Number 3, clear the path for career growth. Right? Talented and experienced prospects don't just come from outside of your company. You've got to look at you already have, right? And, whenever you're trying to fill a position, that person that you might already be there. And when you do that, it shows them and all their peers that there's a career path for them at your company. If all you ever do is hire from the outside for leadership positions, you tell your employees that their current role is all they'll ever have while they work for you. And how is that supposed to inspire them to want to stay with your company? Well, the next one is you got to build that trust. Fight to build that trust, right? You know, business moves at the speed of trust. When there's not enough trust between leaders and employees, it cuts productivity off of the knees. It also makes it much more difficult to retain employees. How? Because a dog eat dog, nobody trusting anyone culture is awful and nobody wants to work in that. And then one of the last ones to talk about for this is offer benefits that are actually worth it. If you're still just offering the run of the mill status quo benefits, you're falling behind. Employees today need the company they work for to invest in them as people if they're going to stick around for the long haul. Conventional benefits, they're a good foundation, yeah, sure. But you need to take it a step further with benefits like assistance for, paying for childcare, HSA company match, or company paid for long term disability insurance. Some companies out there are offering more cutting edge benefits, like paying for laundry services, streaming services, car washes. It's on you to decide what will add the most value to the lives of your employees. And you want to know an extremely timely benefit offer? Financial wellness. All kinds of employees, need help with their money, right? And the financial wellness benefit, it could teach them how to budget, get out of debt, save for the future, retire with confidence, right? There was a study that was done, and it showed that 91% of companies that offer a financial wellness benefit say it helps them in recruiting and hiring. Seems like a pretty good idea during the employee retention crisis, huh? So, when is this going to end? When's the Great Resignation going to end? Well, good news, bad news. Let's start with the bad, which is actually not so bad. If you've got the right perspective, that is. So, employees don't want to work for companies that don't respect their values and don't treat them like real people with real lives. So, the Great Resignation will continue until the job market closes up a bit and until employers take a hard look at what they need to change about the workplace. So then what's the good news? Well, employers can do something about it. There's still time for employers to get employee retention right and build a culture that reflects the value, the ones that employees are looking for, right? what would you look for as an employee? What values would you want? Plus, with all those employees looking to make a shift, it's a great time to hire the right people for your culture. And when you look at it like that, you can turn this crisis into an opportunity. And that's really what you should try to do, right? Turn everything that's been going on that's negative and take this opportunity to build it up from the bottom, build the culture, build, put new things in place to keep people long term, right? So I hope this helped you guys, get some good information, like understanding the Great Resignation and what you could do if you're a business owner to try to keep some of your employees or hire on employees into an environment that is going to help keep them for the long term. If you like the video, smash that like button. It doesn't cost you nothing, right? If you're not subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate it if you did. But until I see you guys in the next one, y'all be safe.